the word of deku had air. Now, it was basically the ability to shape your breath into, well, how can I say this? It allows you to shape your breath into different attacks, not manipulate them into weapons and that, but no. It's more like, think of that one big dude in that one episode. Basically, it's that man's quirk where, once, like, how can I say this? It's kind of like a beam, I guess. Basically, it allows Midoriya to just shoot his air, just to shoot his breath out of his mouth at superpower, at, well, how can I say this? All might level of strength. Yeah, just. Yeah. Although the drawback is that it obviously takes a lot out of your lungs, and obviously it hurts Midoriya's throat. And so, how can I say this? Midoriya is gonna be a bit more different in this, but yeah. Now we start off with a young Izuku Midoriya, currently just. Alright, basically going on about this. The quirk is more like a mutation in this case. Now, what I mean by this is Midoriya can't exactly control the quirk when it was younger. Meaning that if it's a Midoriya, well, released a breath of air, he ran the risk of accidentally blowing something apart. So in this case, Midoriya had to, well, carry a bit more protective gear around his mouth. Now Midoriya is just currently sitting in class, doodling away. And well, that's when he hears a bit of a scream, I guess. Midoriya quickly runs out of his classroom to see, well, obviously Bakugo bullying another child. Midoriya walks up to Bakugo, telling him that he shouldn't be doing this stuff, and walking over to help, well, the kid up. Bakugo just stares at Midoriya before just sighing and walking away. Bakugo obviously knew with his newly awakened quirk that he couldn't exactly take on Midoriya. Every time he tried to take on Midoriya, Midoriya would either just blow him away, or in some cases would accidentally give him a cut in this case. And so, Midoriya just kinda helps the kid up and just, well, waves him off, and, well, yeah, obviously. And that's when we time skip a bit forward to a older version of Midoriya. Midoriya in this case had luckily gained a lot more control over his quirk, and well, he didn't exactly need the gear around his head anymore. Meaning that Midoriya can, well, obviously just breathe normally instead of having to use the protective gear. And so, Midoriya is just currently sitting in class once again, doodling in, well, his sketchbook. Midoriya had taken a liking to, well, obviously drawing, since, well, exactly, Midoriya couldn't, when he was younger, Midoriya wasn't exactly physically fit in this case, but Midoriya had recently started going to the gym in an attempt to, well, obviously gain a bit more strength. That didn't exactly change Midoriya at all. Midoriya, over the years, didn't exactly get praised over his quirk, since most people saw it as dangerous due to the fact that he couldn't exactly control it when he was younger. Meaning that Midoriya is still the same Midoriya, although not as shy. But Midoriya, on the other hand, had gotten a lot more stronger due to his quirk. Now, Midoriya had trained his quirk to such well, precise that he can manipulate his breath a lot more now. Meaning Midoriya can, well, obviously take a breath and blow a tree, and, well, obviously blow a hole in the tree. Or in some cases, Midoriya can just create a tiny little entry point into a wall. And so, Midoriya was obviously amazed by his quirk. After all, he knew he could become a great hero, meaning in this, Midoriya isn't gonna have to need All Might's, well, recognition, or All Might to confirm that he can become a hero, since mans can blow a whole hole in a tree just by breathing. I'm pretty sure man can become a great hero, but anyway. And when obviously school lets out, Midoriya just walks, well, just decides to take the same way in canon. This meaning that Midoriya obviously, well, finds the Sludgiver. And that encounter goes as well as, well, you can think. The sludge villain came out of the manhole and attempted to, well, just attack Midoriya. Midoriya, on the other hand, decided to, well, just blow the guy away. Literally blew the guy to pieces. Midoriya obviously knew that, well, due to the fact that he had a, well, technically a wind-based quirk and this guy was made of sludge, yeah, that wasn't a nice matchup. And that's when, obviously, the same thing happens. All Might steps out of the manhole, and Midoriya, well, just begins to fan, just begins to fan out. Begins to basically just fanboy over All Might. Him, well, just asking All Might for autograph and going home. Now Midoriya, well, as I stated previously, he knew he could become a great hero due to the fact that well, obviously, guy can blow holes in trees by breathing. But anyway, Midoriya decided to, well, focus a bit less on his quirk and focus more on his, well, obvious body. And so Midoriya's body wasn't physically fit. Well, in this case, Midoriya's body wasn't exactly skinny, but he wasn't exactly, well, bulky. Midoriya's body was just in the middle of being, well, skinny and being just right. So Midoriya decided to, well, just focus on his body in this case. And so that's when, well, obviously Midoriya just begins to, well, he just obviously begins to work at Dagobah Beach. Him cleaning up the beach and, well, just obviously working out on his body. And that's when one day Midoriya is currently cleaning the beach when All Might and another boy with blonde hair seemingly came up to him. All Might asking him why he was doing all of this, and him saying that he just needed to train his body. All Might smiles, and that's when, well, obviously the other guy quickly just smiles at Midoriya. Him introducing himself as Mirio Togeda, and, well, this being Toshinori Yagi. Toshinori in this case being in his skinny form, since he didn't exactly wanna obviously walk around as All Might since it would draw too much attention. But anyway, Mirio and, well, Midoriya quickly became friends due to the fact that, well, they were polar opposites. Due to the fact that Midoriya was a bit more withdrawn, and, well, Mirio is a social butterfly. Mirio obviously began to rub off on Midoriya, and Midoriya became a bit more social in this case. All Might was, well, obviously happy that the two were able to just bond, I guess. And, well, that's when Mirio pops the question. Him asking Midoriya what his quirk is. Midoriya just looks at, well, Mirio for a few seconds before saying that, well, his quirk is basically just air. Mirio asking him what he means, and that's when he begins to explain. Midoriya basically can, well, enhance his breath in this case. Midoriya one time had decided to do an experiment at Dagobah Beach, in which resulted in him almost blowing a hole in an entire car. Midoriya, well, was obviously stung, and so Mirio, well, just began to explain his quirk. It being, well, permeation, and allowing him to just basically just phase through objects, and the downfall being obviously man's get naked every time he uses his quirk. But anyway, and, well, the obvious fact that he can't breathe, but still. Midoriya just kind of just nods his head and just begins to, well, talk about other topics. And that is once again when we time skip a few more months into it to the day of, well, the entrance exam. Well, a day before the entrance exam. Well, Mirio asked, well, Midoriya if he was going to go to UA. Midoriya just looking at him and asking him how he knew that. Mirio obviously, well, said that with a strong quirk, with a quirk as strong as his, he well, obviously knew that he wasn't going to go to, well, how can I say this in a nice way? Second grade school, I guess. But yeah. Mirio just kinda saying that, well, he'll be waiting for Midoriya at UA. Him saying that he was obviously gonna be in his third year and that he would be waiting for him. He'd guide Midoriya around school and, well, yeah, just introduce him to some people. Midoriya just nodded his head as he decided to go home. And that's when we time skip to the entrance exam. Midoriya just currently walks into UA grounds as he goes to where the entrance exam would be held. Midoriya obviously passes the, well, damn, I haven't watched my anime in a long time. Midoriya passes the study-based part of the exam pretty easily. Now it was on to the, well, physical part. Midoriya wasn't exactly worried since he could obviously just use his distance to just blow robots. Well, in this case, blow what he was, well, supposed to blow apart to, well, pass the exam. That was, my brain kind of stopped there, but anyway. And when Midoriya is currently just sitting in the auditorium as President Mike is explaining what, well, they will be facing, Midoriya just kind of nods his head as he quickly writes down in, well, his sketchbook, well, the robots in this case. A man behind him quickly, well, raises his hand and asks what about the zero pointer, and if this was a mistake on UA's part, they should be ashamed. Midoriya just kinda, well, just laughs at this before continuing on in his sketchbook. President Mike quickly begins to explain the zero pointer, saying that it wasn't exactly anything major. As it states, well, it's 0 points, you should most likely avoid it instead of engaging it. Him, well, obviously, Midoriya just taking note of this as he, well, just puts his sketchbook away. And that's when we will once again time skip to well, a different part of, well, the UA. This being where the grounds of the obvious test was going to take place. Midoriya just began kind of stretching as he just kind of well, stood on his own. Him knowing well that Bakugo was going to be here and that he should probably just, well, be prepared. Midoriya just kind of how can I say this? Midoriya, he just kind of stretches. And that's when, well, the obvious doors open and Midoriya seems to sprint out. Midoriya runs forward as he spots a 0 pointer. What? No. As he spots a 2 pointer. Midoriya quickly breathes in and shoots a gust of air towards the 2 pointer. It, well, swiftly being destroyed. Midoriya just kind of shakes his head as he begins to wander around the, well, city in this case, and began to just began to destroy robots left and right, quickly ranking up to 70 points in a few minutes. Midoriya continued on destroying robots until eventually the ground began to rumble. Midoriya just looked at where the source is coming from and saw the obvious 0 pointer begin to walk towards them. Most of these enemies began to run away as quickly as they can. Midoriya quickly turned around, and that's when he heard someone call for help. Midoriya turned around and obviously spotted, well, a girl trapped under some rubble. Midoriya just sighed as he began to sprint towards the 0 pointer. Ida quickly see and was about to stop him, but was, well, swiftly stopped as Midoriya quickly just takes in a deep breath and seems to blow a massive gust of wind towards the 0 pointer's face. This causing a bit of indent as the 0 pointer seems to stumble back a bit. Midoriya reaches up and quickly grabs his lungs as he begins to, well, swiftly cough up a bit of blood. Midoriya spits it out, well, reach up to his throat in this case. What am I talking about, lungs? Midoriya reaches up to his throat and spits out a bit of blood. Midoriya quickly runs up to the girl and seems to, well, push the rubble off the side as he quickly grabbed her and was about to run away. Midoriya spots, well, the obvious 0 pointer's feet begin to, shadow over them. Midoriya once again just takes another big breath as he swiftly blows the zero pointer's feet apart. The zero pointer quickly reaches out towards the building and seems to grab onto it for a bit of, well, the world just steady itself. Midoriya and, well, in this case, the brown-haired bob-cut girl quickly began to run away. And that's when obviously a a ring seems to, well, a sound, or in this case a bell, seems to ring across the city. And that's when President Mike's voice begins to say that the obvious test, the UA entrance exam, is over. And that, well, they will be receiving, medical treatment in a few minutes, and then they should go home. Midoriya is obviously just taking note of this, as a old lady seems to, well, just quickly heal people that were injured. Midoriya quickly walks up to her and, well, just asks if she has anything for his throat. The lady quickly just shakes her head as Midoriya just sighs and, well, seemingly begins to walk away. And that is where I think I'm gonna end it. Goodbye.